Greetings, welcome back to my channel. This isn't my favorite background, but this is the one cozy, warm corner in the yard. So this is where we're doing it today. I'm StasiaBliss. We're talking Kundalini awakenings and life force management on this channel. Today, the day I'm recording it, this is Thursday, the 23rd of May in 2024. It's a Sagittarian full moon. This is like an anniversary weekend for me for 22 years after my name change that brought me to StasiaBliss. I told that story in yesterday's video, so if you didn't watch that, check it out. So this is a particularly juicy time for me. 22 is a really powerful number. And if you know numerology, it's a mastery number, and it definitely feels like it's challenging me in the ways that I've chosen to take on this particular astrology in this way. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. Today, what really is coming in strong, interestingly, is there was a quote on Facebook, and I'm not on there a ton, but I'm on there sometimes because I do post some things there for business and catch up with family and such. But somebody posted sort of a mockery of, some saying the Bible isn't all true, but then asking cards to show their future. And then it was just like, all the comments were just like mocking of this. And so I got into a conversation on there, actually defending cardology a little bit. I hate to really defend things, but sometimes I just feel like nobody's ever heard of it this way, and I'm just going to drop in and place a little love bomb around this. And so I just dropped in this message, and it opened up this conversation where in a way I'm kind of being attacked as being a non-believer and a witch. And so I wanted to do this shadow work on the witch, or we'll see what I end up calling this, but shadow work on the witch. I mean, I grew up very Christian. I grew up with that exact same belief about people like me that I actually knew nothing about, that I was just projecting a belief upon. I can see it because I did it on people that I didn't, know anything except for what people told me to think, or what people told me to interpret the Bible or other scriptures to say about people who do the things that I now do. And I have walked this path not away from the church, so to speak, as away from the judgments, away from the required framework. I never left God in my journey. Like, God's always been like the stronghold of my life. Like, the only thing that I super care about was Sagittarius sitting in the galactic center as my sun. I mean, these tools help me further describe the mystery of the divine. These tools help me to more deeply connect to the energy of God that I have always, longed for since my tiniest youth, that was fostered, of course, by my upbringing. That's why I can't, talk down about my parents about this. Of course, I've gone through places where I feel like I was brainwashed, and I feel like upset about that. I'm also really grateful that my parents gave me a strong spiritual foundation and really held how important spirituality was, so that not that I could throw that away, that I could expand upon that. And that's taken me, again, not away from the scriptures, but they've always held like a measuring stick for me to look at everything else and find, everything has inherent flaws if it's been made manifest in the physical. Just because of our humanness, that doesn't mean you can't feel the divine nature in them, right? Or you can't feel where the distortions are at a certain level of consciousness. But so let's get back to this witch identification. And I found myself like defending witches because I've come to realize that I'm a witch. And that's not like any negative thing that I say about myself or anyone like me, except for I've learned to own that term to mean and honor that term to mean one who's in tune. And that's actually what voodoo actually really means too, which I learned, and I was afraid of that word too for a long time. It means one who listens to the spirit, one who's in tune. And immediately I can feel my Christian comrades, because I will call you that. I'm fighting this good fight with you. I'm just doing it in different clothing. I'm doing it in a bit of a different way, but like we're all in the same team of love. We're all in the same team of God consciousness coming here and returning to a place of heaven where we can live together in harmony and share the love of the divine. Like we're all coming from that place. I am. But this term witch, a witch listens, a witch cultivates the plants upon this earth. A witch is one who knows which way is true because her intuition. A witch really means like which one. A bad witch probably knows, but is choosing to manipulate that for their own benefit. And that's, to me, that's not a true witch. That's a very bad witch. That's a witch who's distorted the name, and why it's bad witch is because you've now tainted it. But by tainting it, look how they've helped to hide it. They've helped to hide a very sacred order that is right out in the front of everything. And of course, everyone's, excuse me, I'm emotional about this because I guess this is really close to my heart, and this is something I need to speak about more and speak to more, is the Christians who live in the shackles of Christianity, you know, because, and I'll just say it, like the shackles of Christianity do not listen to your voice, or they, you know, even if they want to, you're not necessarily encouraged to do that so solely on your own. There's always something, right, that you have to measure it against to make sure that what you're purely getting is correct in the eyes of someone else. And they say God, but if it's truly coming, like if it's a true connection between you and the divine, which we all absolutely can have, absolutely, 100%, that's part of why I love yoga, is you get to understand your spiritual bodies, like how you're connected to God. Like, here you're this human and you're connected to the supposedly divine being. How are you connected? Yoga shows the how. Yoga is the most spiritual language. That is its whole basis. I have this theory that every language holds a sliver of the totality of truth. And that if I were to learn all the languages, which I deeply desire to do, but I have done really badly at pursuing that level, and I guess I feel like I have eternity to figure this out, because that's where I have moved that in the corner of my mind of what's to study next. Even though, you know, I love language and I hear language, I hear something different in it. And I truly have learned a lot of Sanskrit in my studies. Maybe not, you know, all of that I need to. Like, I'm listening to my Ayurvedic teacher right now. I'm learning from, and he's just quoting all the slokas from the Samhitas, the ancient Vedic texts that describe Ayurveda. And it's like, it's a song to my heart. Like, I can hear, before he translates it, this divine grace in it, this nugget of wisdom hitting my being, you know. And working with the chakras, you realize, like, you literally are an instrument of God. Like, your chakras play a song. They do, they play a song. Like, literally, I heard those words, you're an instrument of God, my whole childhood. And I mean, that's just a nice thing to say, but how? And one might say, oh, well, God comes through you. Okay, how? How does God come through me? And this might be my Gemini ascendant that's so interested in this, because, you know, I want to know the workings of it. I want to understand the spiritual mechanics, like how God comes into me. right now I'm wondering, and I mentioned infrared, the fur infrared heat the other day that I was partaking in. And I have to tell you, in a couple of weeks that I've been working with that, now I'm noticing a different relationship between the sun and myself. And I was a little bit wary at first because my sister said she used red light therapy for a while and now she can't go out in the sun, is how she's interpreted it. So I'm feeling what I'm feeling right now, and I'm going, I could see how this could be interpreted as too much heat now, because I'm ultra aware. But in that, I've opened up a connection between me and the sun. So my perspective is saying, I'm actually able to access the healing power of the sun now more. So I'm going to utilize the consciousness tools that I have and run that through my body, and I don't need to go to the infrared pad now, because that was just like retraining me. It was retraining me about what this light frequency is all about. So now that I'm sensing it when I'm in the sun, and of course if I'm in the sun I'm getting it, so I don't need to go to the pad, but in the cloudy times it was really good. And but now I feel entrained on receiving light codes in a better way, in a more aware way, let's say. Maybe because of my time relaxing on the pad. So I just wanted to add that in. And that's like a witchy thing, right? It's so funny when women are like, I can garden too. Witches don't have a monopoly on gardening. And I'm like, see how you're separating though? Like, why can't you be a witch? Like, why, what's, like, again, people's associations immediately go with the distorted version. And of course, this is what movies and Hollywood and stuff have put into the collective to distort us, to again attempt to hide what is right in front of our faces, which is we are divine. You know, call it whatever you want. Like, nobody likes any of the names. Everybody can throw a negative twist now on sorcerer, magician, sage, magi, witch, warlock, any of these terms, like druid. There's a freaking bad movie about all of them. And the wind agrees. But the witch listens to the trees. Not because she's woo-woo and weird, but because she lives on this earth with the trees. And she notices the trees, and that the trees notice her. So she has that relationship, and you know, what do you want to call it? Should we rewrite the story? We're not getting rid of the quality, but maybe we need to write witch out and write something else in. So if you have a good name, go ahead and write it down in the comments. I guess I've always been trying to just change the perception of it and just allow the good to be shown more and more, while still calling myself a witch, because I'm like, you know, they don't get a monopoly on the name, the bad witches. Just like I don't think transgender people get a monopoly on gender. Like, they're obviously very confused. So if you're not confused, you get to talk about it. You know, we don't want a bunch of people who don't know about things getting on Wikipedia and redefining everything. We want the people who know about the thing to do the thing, just like we want those people to have those jobs. I am tired of people building buildings who, that is obviously not their gift in life. You know, like, let's give the building craft to the builders and the witching craft to the real witches, who are the earth loving mama types who listen to the wind. I mean, my mom's a witch and she's like totally Christian, and she'd never say that about herself, but when we all laugh about it as sisters, I mean, I have a bunch of Christian sisters, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm not Christian, I'm just saying I don't identify with a specific church, because I'm a child of the universe and I'm a child of God and I love, but they would call themselves that. So again, this is funny how much it reflects and bounces off the transgender movement, because of course I understand the confusion that can occur when one feels more of oneself than what is culturally defined, and like feeling like you have to define it a new way instead of just anchoring into core principles, right? So core principles exist in all the methods, right? If we look to India, we can look at Ayurveda. The core principles of the elements and nature are in all of everything, all of our bodies, all of existence. We find it in Vastu, the architecture. They're found in the way everything is placed. You know, we have, of course, directions. That doesn't change like the reproductive abilities of humans. And I don't want to get off on that subject completely. That's like a whole nother subject, but just to finish it out for a moment, is if we trace everything to Purusha and Prakriti, and I'm using Sanskrit terms, but you could always go back to one that divides first into two, and that creates the world. I understand we're creating a new world, though. This is the message that's coming in. And so the way that's being expanded, though short-lived it may be, is actually helping the things which are solid to know themselves better. I'll just say it cryptically in that way. That's also very witchy, you know, like some things are cryptic. The scriptures are magical incantations too, and somebody's going to cringe at me for saying that, but they're like magic words that if you understand what's being said, I mean, you can read magic words and be completely oblivious, and I really don't think they could actually come to full fruition without your aligned intent. That's how I think magic actually works. Like, you have to be in alignment, and of course you can misuse that. That is something, number one, that we all misuse our power in like raising ourselves up. Like, we all try something, even if you were the best little kid and you become the most upright citizen, you know, it's not because you didn't have trip ups, right? So there's always the chance of the misuse of power. So of course, this is where we have to always be checking ourselves, and we're only really responsible for ourselves, and we can only truly be an example in ourselves of emitting like the most loving frequency, of holding that for everyone. So this conversation is kind of going all over the place, but the shadow work piece that I wanted to get to about a witch or anything like this that you're like, but I'm not that. The shadow work is, where are you like that actually? So I continued with this woman online when she said the witches didn't get a monopoly over gardens, like, no, because you are a witch. Like, there's such a repulsion to the word, to the magic person word, and I just reduce it to gardener, you know. Okay, you're a gardener. A witch is a gardener. Like, no, I'm just a gardener who pays attention to the plants. Like, and maybe you are, maybe you just garden without, like, you're just like putting it in to get food out, and that's your whole relationship, and you're just putting on poison and you're just letting it. Maybe you are like that. Maybe you're not a witch, because a witch is like communing with her plants, is like in alignment with the growth cycles, you know, and some are more attuned that way and some are less attuned that way, right? So bringing this back around to this full moon in Sagittarius, and if you're not watching it on full moon Sagittarius, this full moon Sagittarius energy is still touching you today. This is asking you to, I'm going to pause right there, because it's the energy is speaking to me. What is this full moon asking of you? Like, that's the contemplation. What is this full moon, wherever it is, this frequency that's being emitted when you go outside and you're sitting under the day and you're just tuning into it? Like, what is it inspiring in you? What is it asking you to do? And maybe it's nothing, but if it is something, what? And if when we look at what that is, it looks like the same thing we've been saying, the Sagittarius quality would be like, how do we make a grander vision about that? What's the grander vision? To be unattached to. Of course, the universe, God, is going to play this out through us, the instrument that we are, in a specific way, if we allow it to. It will hurt less if we allow. It'll actually feel beautiful if we can know what that sound that's being played looks like, feels like. And that's why the work that I do, I love body consciousness, awareness of the physical body. It's a practice. We have to practice being aware, being in ourself, and then being present with everything around us so that we can be a servant to this world, you know, an enjoyer and a beneficial presence, let's say, a beneficial presence. And of course, like in the grand perspective, we are, even if we're messing up, so to speak, because we all learn from that. But in an evolved society, we're coming toward a place of self-sovereignty where, okay, we make our mistakes and so forth, and then we utilize those in the next part of our awakening, our initiation, right? To like create how we interact with these situations now that is a more conscious version. So we don't keep having to just be the teenager in this experience, and that's a valuable time too. But when we're done with that, and I'm hearing even from the sun say, there's a large portion of us here who are done with that and who are ready to take old stories and recraft them. A lot of you and me here, our stories, you know, we haven't fully done the rebranding on them yet and represented them. So ponder that for this day. I appreciate you being here. I hope there was some message for you. I'm sure there was. There was a lot of messages for me coming through that transmission today. So I appreciate you being here with me for this on this full moon. I wish you the most love and the most blessings this day. I truly, truly love you and appreciate you. If you appreciated this, maybe just at least give me the like. Reach out to me if you feel like you'd like to. My information is below, and blessings.